Hello everyone and welcome to Ghost Alerts Report. It's me as always, Ryan, here from Tokyo, Japan. Now, not a lot has been said about the cleanup efforts going on around Fukushima area and all the areas in Japan generally affected by the multiple nuclear meltdowns. And for a while now, the process has been kind of running on autopilot until recently. The Asahi Shimbun has reported that the cleanup crews for the decontamination effort have been dumping soil and leaves contaminated with radioactive fallout into the rivers, as well as water sprayed on contaminated buildings has been allowed to drain right into the environment. And supervisors of these crews and teams, which by the way are independently contracted and not directly hired by the government nor TEPCO, these supervisors have instructed workers to ignore all proper regulation and disposal of radioactive waste. Quite shocking, considering the situation here now. But of course it gets a little bit more interesting. Okay? Now, initially, the government set aside 650 billion yen, which is about $7.4 billion, for decontamination of the areas most affected by radioactive substances. Now, here's some of the things been going on. Now, you should know it to be true that the Environmental Ministry, according to Asahi Shimbun, which is very true, the Environmental Ministry doesn't really know how to do this, alright? Not something they've really dealt with or planned for before, which is more shocking considering the number of nuclear power plants in Japan. So they really had no choice but to find independent contractors, which is more interesting considering, shouldn't TEPCO have been ready for this and know how to do this in case it happened? Well, of course not. TEPCO doesn't know how to do this, and the Environmental Ministry doesn't know how to do this. So they go for these independent contractor guys, right? Now, a contract, one in particular here that I found, is worth 18.8 billion yen to decontaminate the area of Nahara. Was awarded to a group that includes Medea Group, the Dai Nippon Construction. A 7.7 billion yen contract for Iwate was signed by a group that includes the Taisei Group, while a 4.3 billion yen contract for Kawaguchi was given to a group led by, I believe, the Obayashi Corporation. Now, that's a lot of money. The people's money, tax money, revenue, being handed out to companies who are not following regulation at all and having no oversight at all. Alright? Now, when these contracts were signed, apparently, the Environmental Ministry had work regulations. Certain requirements for the companies to follow when they go about this stuff, right? They had to place all collected soil and leaves in the bags, secure bags, I assume, to keep the radioactive material from spreading further. Now, the roofs that are sprayed on the walls of homes must be wiped by hand or by brushes. The use of pressurized sprayers is limited to gutters to avoid the spread of contaminated water, of course. The water used in such spraying must be properly collected under the ministry rules. And apparently none of this was being done. They're just skirting all regulation rules, saying, screw it, let's just do it the easiest, fastest way, get paid, don't tell anybody, and everybody's happy. Workers get money, we get big contracts, the government's happy with their image if they're doing something, and the people here in Japan feel like something's being done. When obviously their work and the way they're doing things are making it worse. Okay? Now, initially, Government of Japan kind of was hesitant to admit this was going on, but after a very quick investigation, they confirmed Asahi Shimbun's investigations to be absolutely true. In response to this, the Japanese government, particularly the Ministry of Environment, has said they are going to watch the situation closer. Alright, now there are plans to put monitoring stations a bit closer to where the actual work is happening. Monitoring stations? In my mind, that basically means they're going to put a little booth somewhere and have some bureaucrat sit there all day playing Game Boy, watching things. And what's better, that what they should be doing, is have a guy on site every day watching these jokers, making sure things are being done right. A more cooperation between these independent contractors and the government agencies. Not some guys sitting there all day hanging out. And if there's a problem, he assumes that the contractor will come and talk to him. He'll come and look at it, make sure it's okay. That's most likely what's going to happen. You're not going to get the direct type of monitoring that you need in this type of heavy situation. We're talking about decontamination, highly radioactive material. This isn't, kid stuff. Serious thing. And again, we just see the massive disorganization with this whole effort, So just again, the fight's not over here, okay? Still, the dirty of the nuclear industry is still coming out in Japan. Still showing we have a major problem. When independent contractors are allowed to have carte blanche, the way they do things, it's clear that the Japanese government still doesn't have its shit together.